All right. Mariners played a pretty fun game today. We couldn't watch it, but we're going to go ahead and talk about everything that happened. There's some interesting stuff here. Yeah, the one unfortunate thing, no TV on either side today, so no way to watch this baseball game. Welcome to the Dom Skiing Channel, your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. Let me fix my camera here. Let's go ahead. There, that's good. Anyway, yeah, got a few things to talk about. Brennan Davis went off today. Brian Wu left the game. I said, it's funny, I said, okay, I'm going to stream the pregame as long as Brian Wu pitches. I'm going to review his data in the pregame, kind of live. And he goes out of the game. I end the stream. Then what happens? Just because I did that, right? Because I end the stream, and it's a spring training game, so you're allowed to do this. But as I end the game, and then Brian Wu comes back into the game. That's right. I said, oh, I'll stream as long as Brian Wu, stays out there in this ball game, and then Brian Wu comes back into the game after I end the stream. That is just our luck. But anyway, a lot of fun stuff. Our first tie of the spring. 8-8 with the Royals. It's funny, today they didn't have any expected batting average on Baseball Savant. Maybe, I don't know if that has to do with there not being TV. I don't know if they saw that, Dom Skeen Channel is reviewing our expected batting average, and we've just got to go ahead and stop even putting it up there because it's ridiculous that he's even looking at the expected batting average. But whatever it might be, no expected batting averages, 13 hits for the Mariners, 10 hits for the Royals. And however, the Mariners were the ones who had to come back in this one with a couple home runs. A lot of extra base hits, a lot of homers. Mariners hitting 3 homers, and the Royals hitting 1. Mariners had how many doubles? 3 doubles. Yeah, 2 of them were from Brennan Davis. One of them were from Rob Refsnyder, who are the 2 names that we're really going to want to talk about today. First of all, Rob Refsnyder coming out, going 2 for 2. He faces his first lefties of 2026 spring training. He comes out and immediately singles off the first one. That was Noah Cameron. And then the other one, what was his name? Chase Jesse, a minor league lefty for the Royals. He hits a double. So you love to see that. Rob Refsnyder, I mean, there's 3 things that are certain in, this season. There's 3 things that are certain: death, taxes, and Rob Refsnyder hitting left-handed pitching. He gets off to a torrid start. Both hard hits, both clean hits into the outfield. He has an RBI on one of them as well. Scores the game's first run, or bats it in, I should say. And yeah, Rob Refsnyder hitting lefties. We knew he was going to do it. He did it today, so good to see, even though it's just spring training. Then Brennan Davis comes in his spot, the 2-hole, in right field. Refsnyder also playing right field. I don't think he's going to play too much right field during the season, but there's always a chance that Canzone and Refsnyder platoon kind of moves into right field more, and they just want to get him reps in the case that they need it. Brennan Davis comes into that right field spot, and he goes ahead and goes 3 for 3. Homer and 2 doubles. You could not ask for any more out of Brennan Davis. 3 hard hits to go along with it. And we look at exactly 111.2 off the bat on one of them. We look at, that was his double in the 9th inning that started the rally that tied everything up. Then he doubles in the 7th inning, 96.2 off the bat. His homer, 104.3 off the bat. But the dude can flat out hit. He has power. He has speed. He is a great athlete. He's definitely a major league level athlete. He's been injured a lot in the past, but clearly it's working out right now. And this is where I got to give credit to our hitting coaches. It's been a couple days since I've mentioned the names. Last year, it felt like every single game, especially during the playoffs, I'm mentioning the names. Edgar Martinez, director of hitting strategy, and basically directing the whole hitting department of the organization. Bobby Magallanes and Kevin Seitzer are the 2 hitting coaches. And I mean, these guys seem to just be figuring it out for each hitter individually. uh, by having a very simple approach that allows them to figure out all the complexities that can go wrong in hitting. It feels like forever ago. Even though it was just 2 seasons ago, it was less than 2 years ago. Brant Brown got fired 20 games into the season as the Mariners hitting coach. Um, and I mean, that feels like ages ago at this point, because you've got such a good hitting department led by Edgar Martinez. You could argue honestly that the hitting department and the hitting coaching, this is a pretty hot take, but the hitting coaching is at least on par with the pitching coaching of the Mariners organization right now, because I mean, you see what they're doing with the hitters they have. I mean, it's just spring training. You don't want to read too deep into spring training, but you look at the regular season last year, getting Cal to hit 60 homers, figuring things out for guys like Polanco. I mean, even the guys who you might be disappointed in, quote unquote, right? Cole Young, excellent plate approach, walking like 12% of the time, striking out just 18% of the time. If that's the guys that you're disappointed in and worried to hand over a job to, then you're doing something right. The Mariners have it feels like the depth in this organization on the offensive side is kind of where you need it to be. Definitely where you want it to be. Speaking of depth, right? Like I said, Brian Wu, we covered most of his start. He did come back out in the second inning after being replaced in the first inning by Reed Easterly. He comes back out, throws a couple more pitches, and he ends up at one swinging strike on 28 pitches on the afternoon. And I mean, he throws some four seams, some sweepers, some sinkers, 11, 7, 7 on that. Then 2 sliders, a changeup. The one changeup was the only swing and miss. 28 pitch sample size. We're not going to read too deeply into this. Velocity's exactly where it was last year. Brian Wu's back. That changeup was actually averaging. He threw the changeup 91, the one that he did. So 91 mile an hour changeup is pretty disgusting from Brian Wu. He's got quite a few plus pitches. A lot of them, like that changeup, is only really a weapon to lefties. But and then like he has an approach versus righties and lefties that's solid, and he doesn't stress himself out when pitching. So that injury, in the playoffs last year, I'm probably less worried about Brian Wu's injury history than most, or his like injury risk. But I'm probably more worried about some of the other guys. Bryce Miller had all these loose bodies in his elbow that he decided to not get the surgery. Logan Gilbert had like forearm stuff that is usually a precursor to Tommy John. I'd be more worried about that one there. He looks like he's definitely a little more strenuous when he's pitching than Brian Wu. Even George Kirby, I'd be more worried than I'd say Wu is like the fourth most worry I have from Mariners starters, on injury risk in the 2026 season. Anyway, Easterly 5 pitches, Munoz 11 pitches, and on the radio they're saying that they thought he looked great. Obviously, we couldn't see it, so we can't say whether we think he looks great or not because we can't see it. But good sign that they think he looks great. We're kind of going to go with that. One swinging strike on 11 pitches, 55%, six four seams and 5 sliders. So back to that kind of even pitch mix, just getting his 2 pitches back. Edward Bizardo coming in, sinker slider, 7 sinkers, 5 sliders, 12 total pitches, 1 swinging strike on one of the sliders. And his velocity, like it says 95.1 on the sinker. He kind of varied a lot last year. I remember him getting up to 98, maybe even 99 on the sinker. So I think his velocity could be really going up. I think Edward Bizardo is going to have a great year. I do not put too much stock into the one moment of the playoffs. Dane Dunning comes out and throws the kitchen sink. He throws 6 pitches, 39 total pitches, 2 swinging strikes, both on 9. His 2 of his 9 cutters, then 12 sinkers, 9 sliders, 6 changeups, 2 four seams, and a knuckle curve. I do think that he is using the the cutter grip approach. Got to pull the baseball out when we do this. I don't think he's getting behind the ball. I think he's getting on the side. I think this is a new meta for pitchers like Dane Dunning, like Emerson Hancock, guys that maybe don't have as much success with a fastball but have good breaking balls. You can make them into a Michael King type interesting pitcher, by getting on the side of the baseball, having them throw everything out of the cutter grip. I think Dane Dunning could be like a good SP7. Emerson Hancock, obviously the SP6. Reed Van Scooter, 9 pitches, 2 swinging strikes. Good to see. 1 on the sinker, 1 on the slider. It's good to see. Charlie Bielenson, 20 pitches. You got Gio Zuniga on 25 pitches. Hey, he's got 4 swinging strikes. This is a guy who I liked seeing in one of those first couple of games of spring training. And 4 swinging strikes on 25 pitches. Not saying that this guy is figured it all out or anything, but 2 on 14 sliders, 1 on 7 sinkers, none on 2 four seams, but 1 on 2 changeups. This is a guy who could get really interesting, in my opinion. He throws 98 on the sinker and the four seam, throws 88 on the slider. This is just a guy who, he has a huge frame off the bus. If you were playing a baseball game, you see this guy walk up to the mound, it's going to be menacing, all the size that he has. And like, if you were just to be watching the Orr King, tie. Exactly, right? Finally got a tie. What is this? The MLS? What is this? Soccer? No, this is spring training baseball. But yep, we got a tie. Honestly, the Mariners showed a lot of fight to get to the tie. I know the radio said that as well. Just to get back to the tie, you had to have some long balls from Brendan Davis, Jackson Reitz. Shout out to Jackson Reitz. And from Connor Joe at the end there. So good stuff. Ryan Hawks, Jimmy Kingsbury also pitched. Not going to go too deep into these guys. Noah Cameron, 36 pitches against the Mariners, their starter, who's going to be pretty good in 2026. But looking over these hitters, this is where really the fun stuff was. We got to look at, so Rob Refsnyder we talked about, Brendan Davis, he got just so much athleticism. Something is going to kind of happen with Brendan Davis at some point. He's going to make it up to the majors. Maybe he's just overmatched on the skills component. I think his defense maybe could use a little bit of work. We obviously didn't get to watch it today. But I know the Dodgers broadcast was grilling him the other day for not helping out Ryland Thomas in center field. And I don't know. Brendan Davis is a guy who you got so much potential. It's showing up in spring training right now. Does it contribute to the Mariners in 2026? Mariners Mojo seems to think so. They're tweeting out, I'm telling you, this guy's going to do something for the Mariners in 2026. A lot of detractors in the comments saying, well, his projected, win contributions are negative. I'm kind of somewhere in the middle. There's, even though, hey, shout out to Mojo, Brendan Davis, the GOAT. Absolutely. Just watching that first game of spring training, you see the way this guy's moving on the bases. I think it was supposed to be the game ending out of the first game or the second game, and the second baseman drops it, and at that point you're like, okay, a little single, but Brendan Davis is hustling. He's rumbling, bumbling, stumbling, all like 225, 250 pounds of him. Dude looks like he should be playing middle linebacker, 6'2", 210. This guy could be playing middle linebacker for the Seahawks across the street. Hey, take this guy down to the Arizona Cardinals facilities. Obviously, we don't want that as Seahawks fans, but this dude has that NFL type of body in the MLB. You can see why he was a prospect. Actually, from Arizona, from Basha High School. So, see why he was the number 62 overall pick to the Cubs in 2018. Anyway, shout out Mojo. Excellent podcast last week. I took your advice, by the way, and I'm going to have Jake from Raise the Trident on the podcast on Friday. Shout out to you guys and all the, the good people in this Mariners YouTube community. We're killing it right now, if I do say so myself. You guys definitely the trailblazers in this, live every game space. And can't wait for what we got in store. Definitely going to be seeing you guys at games this season. And got a whole lot going on. Naylor, over 3 doesn't matter too much. Just like to see him doing the goofy moving around in the box type of stuff. That once he gets to Safeco Field, T-Mobile Park, right? He's going to be slapping the ball around the ballpark. He does not care about the little things. He has that Cooper Cup mentality. I do not care what the results are. I'm going to go play the game my way. That's 1-0 every pitch. That's why we named the podcast the 1-0 podcast. It's all about 1-0 every pitch. We're not trying to go 10-0, over the course of 10 games. We're not trying to go 4-3 over the course of a week. No, we're going 1-0 every day, 1-0 every pitch. And Josh Naylor, he's going 1-0 every pitch right now. His defense also looks pretty good, making some good stretches and stuff. The eye test with Josh Naylor so far, even though there was no eye test to be able to do today, unless you're at the ballpark, Josh Naylor looks good right now. And can't wait to see him in the WBC. I mean, if Canada goes and upsets the U.S. in the WBC, call that some get back for us getting them in the Olympic hockey, right? I don't think, obviously, I don't want that to happen. I got my USA hat right here. We're going to be covering the World Baseball Classic from a Mariners perspective here. But, man, good to see, Josh Naylor just playing the game his way. That's what you paid $100 million for. That's who he is. That's what you want from really one of the members of this Mariners Big Three right now at this point. You've got, let's see, Connor Joe going 1 for 2. Obviously, the game-tying homer. And he hits at 435 feet. So Connor Joe, a guy who's probably going to contribute to the Mariners at some point. I mean, you never know what type of injury things are going to happen, right? 2 years ago, Mariners don't have a single injury in their starting rotation the entire season. I mean, just like all-time low of injuries, just absolute blessings upon blessings there. Then this past year, the Mariners have 4 of their 5 guys go down with injuries at some point. Do you know what's going to happen with injuries? No, but when, all of a sudden, right, a whole lot of hitters, especially if some right-handers get injured and you need some more right-handed presence. I mean, Brennan Davis and Connor Joe are showing that you can rely on some of the depth in your minor leagues, that you don't need a quote-unquote another right-handed bat. I'm actually glad, and I'm going to be asking Jake Raise the Trident about this on the pod on Friday. Him and I are kind of the low man on Eugenio Suarez in 2026 and beyond. It's like that guy just didn't, he was an all-time fit for the clubhouse, an all-time personality fit with this team and the city. He just wasn't a great fit with the ballpark. He it was like 708 or something plate appearances in this ballpark. A complete full season worth of plate appearances, hitting 213 or 211, like 20 something homers, like a 33% strikeout rate. I mean, it was like when you look at his stats in T-Mobile Park, which I did a video on a little while ago, right? Like he just does not produce in T-Mobile Park the way that he does. And you look at his stats in Arizona, you look at his stats in Cincinnati, where he went back to and where he had his other 49 homer season. He played the whole thing there. That is who you want Eugenio Suarez to be, and that's who he is. And when you try to bring him to Safeco Field, to T-Mobile Park, to these dimensions, you're not getting what you need. You're not getting what you need in that spot. So, I'm excited that we get to see some other higher upside, I would argue, guys who can hit for power, hit for contact, even have some more speed. Joe and Davis both are going to have above average speed. Davis doesn't have those major league statistics yet, but then Connor Joe is a guy who, if he didn't have the speed that he has, shoot. So do you see why he is not in the majors anymore? He went down at 37 percentile sprint speed. Even when he was good, 48 percentile sprint speed. Never been the base runner that like his profile would suggest. And he's never really had too many stolen bases, but he's a guy who I remember listening to fantasy baseball analysis a couple years ago. It's like you'd think that Connor Joe would be a guy who has some speed, just the way he plays. It's funny. Anyway, he's completely at least average. He's not going to be a super big negative in terms of speed. Gino, if you don't have that power, it gets ugly. It looks like with Connor Joe, with Brennan Davis, you might be able to have something even if the power is not there as a right-handed presence. And with Rob Refsnyder, clearly you do. That's why I was such a big fan of that signing as well. And that proved right today. Anything else we want to talk about? Shout out to Mojo and the Or King in the chat. Appreciate y'all. And yeah, if you have any questions, go ahead, pop them in the chat. Be happy to talk about them. Felnine Celestin checking in with a hit. The Mariners actually Twitter account posted a video of it. It's not the prettiest hit you've ever seen. He kind of stays on the ball, slaps it back up the middle. It's a bouncing ball, and it goes. Gets the second baseman gets to it, but it's just right in the gap where it looks like Miles Mastroboni is sliding into second base. And then you've got, it's just enough time to make it an infield hit. So Celestin still very, very raw, but gets the RBI today. And he's hitting 500 on the spring. Still early, but that's good to see. Will Wilson checking in with a hit. Caleb Cali, I think this is his first game action of the spring. Shout out to him. A really cool name, obviously. Caleb Cali rolls off the tongue. Jackson Reitz coming in with a 3-run bomb in this game. And that was... How far was this one? 394 feet, 99.8 mile an hour off the bat, 28 degree launch angle. So Jackson Reitz, a guy who's been in the majors. He's played 8 games in the majors between the Nationals in 2021 and the Giants in 2024. As a catcher, not sure. But he's interesting. He's apparently barreled up the ball a little bit. Hard hit percentage is pretty high. So I don't know exactly what's going to happen with Jackson Reitz. But like as far as a minor league catcher goes, you got to like what you're seeing right now. It was a 3rd round pick, the 93rd overall pick in 2014. So this is age 30 season. This would be at his athletic prime. He's still playing. He's been in the majors before. You definitely have like 4 or 5 catchers ahead of him in this organization right now. Between obviously Cal, then you got Kiz, then you got Garver, then you've got Pareda, and then you've even got like an Andrew O'Keefe. But even then, right, it's good to have a guy like Jackson Reitz probably in AAA Tacoma. And like when Luke Stevenson is coming up, you can have a 30-year-old, in their prime, who he can be learning from in his young 20s. Okay, Jackson Reitz with that big bomb. Kisner, 0 for 1, all good. He does walk once, so still seeing Kisner do some really good things. The eye test, again, the last couple days has been great. And he had a hard hit in his lone at bat that wasn't a, he didn't get a hit on it, but it was the 3rd highest exit velocity of the game at 107.9. So he's got a little more pop in his bat right now than you'd expect. Again, that guy is in his age 30 season, and he was absolutely peaking last season. Hit 307 with a 137 WRC plus in the second half last season. That's pretty awesome. Okay, Gavin Cross hit the homer for the White Sox. Obviously don't know too much about who that is. Maybe heard this name once. He was the 9th overall pick in 2022, so that's where we heard his name, out of Virginia Tech. Now he's the number 24 prospect in their pipeline, but like a same dimensions as Brennan Davis, and he's a lefty. He's got a whole lot of like 55 grade tools on the 20 to 60 or 20 to 80 scale. So 60 being average, or 50 being average. He's got like some above average tools with 55 run, 55 power, 55 hit, 50 arm and field. It's like there's definitely not a whole lot going on there still. Looks like a prospect who had his best, had some of his best stuff early on, and he's kind of petered out in the minors. He really has never had a good batting average in the minors since the year he was drafted in 2022. He was absolutely tearing the cover off the ball, and then he's been kind of poor ever since, to be honest. Maybe he's been injured. Good luck to Gavin Cross, though. And you've got Victor Labrada. Okay, I got to talk about my guy, Victor Labrada, who I did meet and work with a tiny bit at a training facility a couple years ago. The dude is absolutely lightning fast. I got the chance to see it in person, running on turf. The dude was as fast as some of the football players that we were training at my training facility, which if you followed me for a long time, you might know what that is, where that is. But he goes 3 for 3 today. He's batting 600 with a 1,300 OPS right now in spring training. It's like, I mean, you got to be liking what you see from him. And he's scoring 2 runs. He might be the Mariners' run leader in spring training so far. A whole lot of good stuff going on with Victor Labrada. This is a guy who, if you really needed to, like, Julio goes on the 10-day IL, and you need to find some center field depth, I would not be surprised to see Victor Labrada be that center field depth. So, some fun stuff going on there. I think that's pretty much it for today. Any questions, pop them in the chat. Be happy to discuss any other storylines you guys have. As you know, this is, I say this is your one-stop shop for the Mariners storylines on Seattle's minds. But if that's going to do it for today, pretty happy with the result, even though it's a tie. A whole lot of reps going on, and some very interesting ones at that. Connor Joe, Brendan Davis, Rob Refsnyder, Jackson Reitz, Victor Labrada, all some interesting stuff. And even as far as pitching, Woo is what it is, but interesting that he came back out after getting taken out, right? Never just a normal day at the office for Bryan Woo, although he is Mr. Consistent, Mr. 6 innings. Shout out to Joe from Mariners Mojo. And Andres Munoz came out, looked good, got a strikeout, didn't allow anything over an inning. Bizzardo pretty swimmingly too, just 1 hit. Dane Dunning through the kitchen sink. And Gio Zuniga, I like the swing and miss that I was seeing on his profile. So, some interesting stuff today. And Eli Morgan pitched for the Royals today. I thought it would be interesting to say he got yanked off of Team Israel's roster in the WBC because of insurance. So the Royals didn't want him playing in the WBC. His contract, they said, your insurance has to be towards being healthy for us. We're not letting you play in the WBC. He's been replaced. But interesting that he was pitching today and that WBC roster news happened. We got just a couple days to the World Baseball Classic. I will be definitely covering that from Mariners angle. Go ahead, hit the subscribe button, and go watch my most recent podcast with Mariners Mojo. Look out on Friday if you've already watched that one for episode 3 of the 1-0 podcast, where we're going to go 1-0 with Jake from Race the Trident. Thank you guys for watching. And as always, I will see you guys tomorrow.